What's going on?
There's a slight delay, but it's good.
Yeah. Good morning and welcome to our 10 minutes at 10. And today we are going to talk about signing up for Making Tax Digital for VAT. It's an exciting day today, isn't it?
Everyone's going to be ecstatic.
Woo! Making Tax Digital.
But very relevant.
It is. So Making Tax Digital affects all VAT returns for quarters starting from the 1st of April 2019. So if you've not switched over to MTD for VAT already, then you need to do it for the new quarter that's just ended 30th of April. Started 1st of April and ended 30th of June 2019. So this new system will ultimately change the way the majority of businesses file their accounting records with HMRC. So we're starting with that. This one is live now. So all VAT registered businesses must use MTD Ready software to keep their tax records and file their VAT returns. So this is software like Xero and QBO, QuickBooks Online. All mainstream accounting packages should really be MTD Ready by now. And there are some tools that will link spreadsheet accounts with an API connection, such as VATman, Vital Tax, Alvara, etc. So if you Google MTD VAT bridging software, if you're still on a spreadsheet, you might be able to find a solution that works for you.
Now, before we get too heavy into MTD and why it's all there, etc., there are a few exemptions if you're basically, if your business turnover is below £85,000 as of this year, obviously the VAT registration threshold, you don't have to register as a mandatory requirement. You can, however, register voluntarily, but it's not a mandatory requirement. Now, the one thing I will say is if you are over the £85,000 turnover at present, and then all of a sudden your turnover drops below this threshold, you cannot deregister for MTD. Once you sign up, you're live, you're on it. The only way to get out of it is to become insolvent, which is another exemption, or of course to deregister from VAT because you drop below the deregistration threshold. So that's the only way out of it once you're signed up.
It is for VAT, but it doesn't mean that you have to stop keeping digital records, does it?
So definitely wouldn't stop that.
You still have to keep recording your records digitally because the other taxes, corporation tax, income tax, will all follow over the next couple of years.
Now, there are a couple of other exemptions, maybe through religious beliefs. So there are some societies which don't believe in the use of computers and technology. So it does happen as Seven-Day Adventists and Amish and people like that. And any religion where basically it prohibits the use of technology, then you have a legal argument with HMRC based on human rights. There are also exemptions for people who have the impracticality of using the digital tools. And this is probably because of a few things, really. It could be an age-related issue, a disability, or just a remoteness of location. Now, what they dictate as remoteness of location is when your internet connection is basically not reliable. And of course, if you have no internet, you can't file digitally.
And we don't have any clients in that situation, but we know of people that are so remote, they have that exact issue and they wouldn't be able to file digitally unless they went to a local library or an internet cafe and things like that. And it's just not practical for the purpose of running their business.
Then it's time to move on to the why. Why are we doing MTD?
So why are we doing MTD? Well, basically because HMRC says so. According to HMRC, it's designed to make tax simpler. And I agree with that to a degree. It is designed to make tax simpler for them, and it's designed to make tax simpler for the business owner. Now, if you're disadvantaged anyway through age, remoteness, or disability, then it isn't going to be an easy thing for you. And there are an awful lot of people, and we meet them every day, that are what they call technophobes, and people who simply can't cope with or are unable to manage things digitally. Now, that's fine. They'll just need to outsource it and find somebody else who can whilst they focus on running their business. But it's also designed to help HMRC recover what they consider to be avoidable lost tax revenues. Now, it won't necessarily, in my opinion, help them avoid the losses, but it will help them identify people who should be paying. Whereas, at the moment, people could be trading above the VAT threshold, and because their records are kept on paper, it's not ever recorded or reported to HMRC. With the rules being that you have to be digitally enabled and you have to be reporting to HMRC, they may then report to HMRC with good intentions of paying their VAT, but then not be able to. Well, that's a slightly different scenario for those that won't pay and will avoid it anyway. For those, it simply won't help HMRC recover the VAT on unreported, untraded, untracked income anywhere.
And in relation to the actual VAT registration threshold, if you're trading and you've got VAT registration where you're turning over more than £85,000.
Yeah, so 85k is a threshold, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the threshold for VAT registration as of this year. And what we would personally say is, if you're turning over this much, it is a big enough sum of turnover, in our personal opinion, to justify using an official accounts package. So yeah, there's options out there which aren't actually they're costly. Well, I don't think they're costly. I think they're quite modest.
Yeah, in terms of an £85,000 turnover business, something that costs between sort of £10 and £25 a month should be an acceptable business expend. In return for the value that you're going to get with the ability to file tax digitally, with the ability to import your bank feeds, to reconcile your accounts, to have a better understanding of your business position. It should be a no-brainer. You simply can't get that level of insight into your business and into your profitability and your potential tax liabilities, and you can't share that data properly with an accountant or a bookkeeper if you don't use an accounting system. Now, there are people who are super duperly clever with spreadsheets, but I haven't seen a spreadsheet that can do what a good accounting system can do for £20 to £25 a month. It should be a no-brainer. And if you're VAT registered, of course, you can recover the VAT on that cost anyway. Yeah.
And because it's mandatory to be on MTD if you're over the VAT registration threshold anyway, you might as well make your life as pain-free as possible.
Yeah, so, it's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it? If you get to that level, you ought to be managing your businesses more effectively. You ought to have that level of data and insight. It's daft not to, really. You put yourself at a disadvantage unnecessarily. So what happens if your business is MTD registered, which we've already discussed, and then falls below the VAT threshold? Well, in that situation, even though your turnover has fallen below the threshold, you can't deregister from MTD. You might deregister from VAT, but not from MTD. You still have to keep your documents and your records digitally in readiness for corporation tax and income tax going online. So that is still mandatory.
Now, if you're already below the VAT threshold, touch upon this briefly towards the start. If you're below the VAT threshold, registration for MTD is voluntary for now. But once you are signed up, you have to stay MTD compliant.
And again, for the same reason,
reasons, Other taxes are going to fall in line soon. Corporation tax, income tax, it's all going to fall into place.
Okay, so you have your next VAT quarter. You've just finished trading. Your records are up to date, hopefully by now. Maybe not. Maybe a few more days' time. Your records for June quarter end VAT will be up to date shortly. So what do you need to do to register for VAT? Well, you'd already have your VAT registration. You've already got your government gateway that you already use to submit your normal VAT returns to HMRC. You then need to log on to HMRC's Making Tax Digital business registration page. So if you Google sign up for MTD, you'll find it. And there are approximately 15 steps to go through to submit your application for MTD. It takes about 72 hours before you get confirmation from HMRC that you are registered. And then when you log into your software should recognise, because it's directly connected to HMRC, that you are MTD compliant. And then it will allow you to file your next VAT return using the MTD functionality within your software. Now, if you're not registered yet, or you haven't submitted that registration yet, your software should recognize that and tell you it can't match your credentials in HMRC's software. So you need to go back and look at that registration again and make sure you are registered and that your details are correct. Now, then you should be able to file your return, and then you keep filing your return using MTD going forwards. Now, if your accountant is filing your VAT return under MTD and they do it on their agent gateway, you as a business still have to register your business for MTD, and the accountant has to register you for MTD under their agent gateway. So it's almost as if you were starting your registration for VAT again. So both the business owner and the accountant has to register you with the respective gateways to make sure that you are registered for MTD. So if your accountant hasn't started that already, they'll almost certainly be doing that within the next few weeks. Now, we, for example, we have left it until the first week of July to start looking at MTD switchovers, because we're members in various accountant forums, and there have been many, many issues with government gateways and switching clients over. So we've left it to allow everybody to file their last possible VAT return using the old software. And now that we've got our first full VAT returns within April, May, June, all completed in digital software and all after the 1st of April deadline, now is the time that we'll switch over. But it will all be done within the next 14 days so that we've got the rest of July and the first week of August to file those returns. Now, you obviously don't want to leave that until the last minute. You can't file for MTD within 72 hours of the initial submission of your registration application. You have to wait until HMRC say that you are registered, but you want to do it at the very least 72 hours before the VAT return is due, or 7 days before the VAT return is due if you're paying by direct debit, to allow HMRC systems to get everything done. So I would recommend, if you haven't transferred over and migrated to MTD, that you do it now or start the process by the second week in July at the latest. Try and get it done and try and get your VAT return submitted before the end of June, so that you've got that 1 week contingency just in case something goes wrong in August, end of July, I mean. So you've got your contingency in August.
Yeah, don't leave it to the last minute.
No,
it's important to stay compliant, and you don't want that rush at the end.
Yeah.
Now, MTD will have fines attached to it as per basically gross tax, to be honest. At the moment, the MTD fines are, I'm going to say provisional because they might tweak them, but there is a £500 charge for failing to comply with record keeping requirements.
It's digital record keeping.
So digital record keeping. Oh, there was an error with our video. Is it still live? Actually, leave that because sometimes
actually, I'm going to leave that one.
Okay, we'll carry on because I think we're still live here.
Yeah, we should be still live on YouTube. Yeah, we're good.
So there's also a £400 charge for failing to submit MTD return when it's required. So basically like a late filing penalty. And there's also a £15 charge per day for up to 100 days, of course. That's the limit, upper limit, for repeated failure to comply. So that can be up to £1,500. So that's a chunky one, that one. But the one good thing, and it's actually quite a long window, there is a soft landing period imposed by HMRC for any penalties. So from the 1st of April 2019 through to the 1st of April 2020, HMRC have said they will be a bit more lenient with penalties as long as the business has been showing that they've made sufficient efforts to comply.
Yeah.
So that's the important part. Don't think you can just not do it and get away with it, because then they will fine you. Yeah. If you've been trying and for one reason or another things just haven't worked in the way that you've expected, they are a bit more lenient. So that's always good to know. And it is quite a long window, actually. They've got a full year.
Yeah.
So that's quite handy.
That should be plenty of time. But again, a year for someone who has substantial records and perhaps a not particularly helpful accountant. And we've seen people in that situation where we've had to get involved and help them with the migration. It sometimes does take that long to make a switch from one accounting system to another if you don't have help, or perhaps your data is a bit out of date to start off with. So
yeah. Cool, that's a sad note to end on, isn't it?
It shouldn't be.
See, we told you MTD was exciting.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today in our 10 minutes at 10. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care. Bye.